Hi guys, I'm Jess and I'm here to talk to you for episode 5 of the I series, for the influence part of the I series. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jess and Tim is my husband and I sit on the leadership team here at Cromer Church. I also help shape our public face and communications. So I work part-time and then in the rest of my time I'm running after our 1-year-old Savannah, singing nursery rhymes, playing with Play-Doh and usually negotiating about whether it's time for a nappy change or not. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit on needs and boundaries. It's a big topic, but hopefully I'm going to give you a few practical pointers that will help you process with Holy Spirit about healthy needs, healthy boundaries, so that you can healthily influence your sphere and those around you. So when preparing a talk about needs, what do? You Google what are needs. So here's my journal and here is what came back. Needs are something necessary for an organism to live a healthy life. Needs can be objective and physical, such as the need for food, or psychological and subjective, such as the need for self-esteem. And probably my first point is this, that Jesus came down in human form. And when we look at Genesis, we can see God's creative order. God created humanity. God loves our humanness. He created us with needs, and a lot of those needs get met directly by God, and then other of those needs get met by community, which is God with flesh. And here we got to tease out a little bit where we get in our needs met and how do we get them met healthily so that we can be the best us to influence people around us. So we're going to just roll out some needs. There is the need for food, like we said, there's the need for exercise, there's emotional needs, spiritual needs, relational needs. And Jesus was someone who came to earth. He ate with people, he ate with his disciples, he fed the 5,000, he fed them fish and loaves. He had spiritual needs and emotional needs. In the Garden of Gethsemane, we see him saying, hey guys, will you stay up with me and pray? And they fell asleep. That must have been hurtful for him, but he was vulnerably trying to express his needs to those closest to him. So needs, what am I saying? Needs are good, they're okay. God created them. And it's all about how we get them met healthily. And what I find really interesting in the Western mindset is that we are very good at separating things out. So we would be like emotional needs over here, spiritual needs over here, physical needs over here, relational needs somewhere over there. But Jesus had a mindset that was Hebraic, and a Hebraic mindset kind of combines all those things into a holistic oneness approach. So Jesus would have understood that different needs would impact other needs, and that they would be kind of interwoven as one. So for example, when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane saying, can you stay up with me, that wasn't just an emotional need, it wasn't just a spiritual need, it wasn't even just a physical need, stay up with me, don't sleep, like resist the urge to sleep. It was kind of touching on different areas. So it's a lot more complex than separating out. So that's just one thing to say. And I want to share a story from my own life. I'm someone that's always been super blessed to be fit and healthy, never had an operation, nothing, until I became a mum, and that was a very like an unraveling of a whole new take on getting my needs met in a healthy way. I had a C-section with Savannah, and because she was breech, and that was a really hard time for me. I decided not to take any painkillers after the operation for 2 or 3 days, and that was a tricky time for me. And I had needs. I couldn't walk, and this is when needs and boundaries come together, because boundaries are all about how we kind of reach out to other people to get our needs met, and who has access to us in vulnerable ways. So I had to reach out to my husband Tim to help me stand up. I couldn't stand up by myself, and Tim was the one that was helping me shuffle to the toilet when I needed to go to the toilet, and I wasn't strong enough to pick up our daughter, so every 3 hours he had to pick her up and bring her to me so that I could feed her. And that was just a really interesting time for me to be vulnerable and express needs in a really healthy way. And I was dependent on him, and that was a hard place for me to be, but I learned a lot about kind of what it looked like to be vulnerable and to be real. So I'm here just to validate you and say, hey, you have needs, and who are those people in your life that you can reach out to and be real and be vulnerable with and help cover you in the areas that you need. And some of that's going to be direct from God, and some of that is going to be God with flesh on, so the people around us. Okay, now I'm going to focus on boundaries a little bit, and I've got a prop, one of Savannah's toys, her rainbow toys, just to kind of give a visual representation. Boundaries help support how we do relationships healthily, and that is all to do with the level of vulnerability and the level of kind of access you give people to your heart. So let's take a look at this, for example. Let's just pretend for a moment that this represents Jesus's relationships. So up the top, maybe it's going to be God, his relationship with God. We read in the Gospels he regularly withdrew to pray, spent a lot of time with the Father. And then maybe like the next layer would be three of the disciples, Peter, James and John. He shared a moment with them on the Mount of Transfiguration that he didn't invite other people to. And then maybe the next layer, for example, the yellow one, is the 12 disciples. He invested a lot of time in those, spent a lot of nights with them, eating with them, sharing life. And then perhaps down here are the 72 disciples that he sent out and said, go heal the sick and do the stuff, and then let's come back together. And then maybe somewhere all the way down here are the Pharisees, people that Jesus knew and spoke to, but in no way had a kind of real deep level of access to his heart, or he wasn't vulnerable with. And there are different layers to relationships, and probably the closer we are to someone, because we can't be best friends with everybody, we don't have the time and the energy, but everyone serves a purpose or serves a function in our lives relationally. So for you, maybe the top one is kind of like God, and then maybe it's your spouse and your family, and then maybe it's your close friends or your friends at church, and then maybe, somewhere like further out are people like Joe Smith, who lives up the street and you say hi to, and you sometimes text and say, do you need any milk? I'm going to the shop. But depending on kind of our heart connection, and people are fluid, they can move around depending on how you're building the relationship. But if you have a dream or you have an issue or something personal you want people to pray about, it's probably not super appropriate to text Joe Smith or to reach out to the Pharisees. That's going to be your close people. So boundaries are there to serve and protect the relationship. They're not there to serve and protect you. So all boundaries are just working out, where is this person in my life? How much access do they give me to their heart, and how much access do I give to my heart? And that's where vulnerability and needs come together. So for me, for example, when I had my operation, it was my really, really close people like Tim, who was helping me get out of bed or helping me use the bathroom or helping me move around. It wouldn't have been appropriate for me to call Joe Smith in the middle of the night saying, hey, I need to use the bathroom. That isn't where the relationship is at. But friends fed us for 3 weeks. They brought meals to us, and they supported us. Other people, were praying for us and rallying around us at that time. So there's that whole blend of different relationships that serve and meet needs in a healthy way. And I guess for you to process this with Holy Spirit, it's like, okay, what access do people have to my heart at the moment? How do I meet their needs healthily? How do they meet my needs healthily? And again, this is fluid. It's not fixed in stone, and it's something that you pray about and you work through with Holy Spirit in every season of your life. So that's kind of how needs and boundaries come together. And again, I've made boundaries in relationships to protect myself, and that's broken down the relationship because it was kind of put down from a place of fear, not from a place of love. But when you come from a place of love and your heart is to serve other people and serve the relationship well, then that is the best starting point. So thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you got something from kind of what are needs, how do I get my needs healthily, what does that look like in community, and what are boundaries in relationships, and how do I kind of partner with Holy Spirit to live a healthy life relationally. So and then from that place, that's where we influence healthily. We come from a holistic place, and we work with Holy Spirit in every area of our life. So thank you very much for listening. It's raining here, yay. I hope you have an amazing afternoon.